In this series of videos, we're talking about the 7 essentials every home should have from a design standpoint. And again, the consumer warning is that this is the matte edition. I'm not a professional designer. I'm just sharing you the 7 essentials that I think every home should have based on having improved my own home and having a lot of conversations with designers on our platform. In the first video, you learned that essential number one, we covered it, were colors that make you smile. And what we talked about in that video was how different colors can affect you emotionally and also impact your productivity, can also stimulate or depress your appetite, and why those types of effects that they can have on someone could indicate that certain colors are actually better or worse fits for particular rooms in your home. It's not a hard and fast list. These aren't rules that you have to adhere to. We discussed how one person can actually react to the same color in a very different way than another person. But it's a nice general guideline in terms of the emotional impact that certain colors can have on the population. So I do encourage you to watch that video. I thought that it went quite well. But in this video, we're not going to be talking about colors that make you smile. We're going to be talking about essential number two, which, or at least what I consider to be essential number two, which is the perfect dining table. Now, you'll notice that I have not said the perfect dining room table because some people don't have a formal dining room. They don't have a dedicated room in which they include a dining table. You don't have to, I mean, if you have a small space, a lot of people are living in smaller spaces now than 10, 20 years ago. And so you don't have to have a dedicated dining room. You might have a eat-in kitchen. You might, I don't know, it could be a much more informal dining situation. But in my opinion, it is absolutely vital in order to have a dining table. Whether it's a dining room or elsewhere in your home, it doesn't really matter. It just needs to exist. And anecdotally, and I think that just generally speaking, it's easy to understand why this is important to have this single gathering place where we can share meals. But actually, multiple scientific studies have been conducted that demonstrate, or that prove rather, that eating together as a family offers a lot of benefits to the family. For example, the National Center of Addiction and Substance Abuse at Columbia University found that kids who eat at least 5 times a week with their families are more likely to perform better academically and less likely to smoke, drink, or use other drugs. So although I'm talking about having a dining table, it's more than just a table. This is really a tool that you can use in order to connect with your friends, your family, at a place where you can have meaningful conversation that's not distracted by technology. And, you can learn about what happened in their day, what they're excited about, what they're struggling with, things like that. So that's one reason, we kind of, Stuccco is an interior design platform, right? So we have a tendency to think about the way things look, but just as important as the way things look is how things function, and how a design can actually encourage connectedness between people who share the same space. So the perfect dining table is perfect because it's more than just a table, right? It's a place where you can meet. So I want to share some quick tips. Let me make sure that we're connected here. Hey, Patrick. Amanda's got 4 dogs. Wow, 4 dogs. That's incredible. I can barely keep up with one. And that's a lot of dog food, Amanda. Hey, Patrick from Florida. Okay, cool. So we've still got quite a few people on. We're still streaming and everything. So let me share some quick tips with you. And I don't want to take up too much time with you, but I want to make sure that I'm able to give you some value here in the limited time that we have. Quick tip number one is if you're tight on space, I do recommend going rectangular or square with a dining table. We've got a couple photos here with you. On the left-hand side, you see a rectangular table. This is the most common type of dining room table that you'll find. And on the right side, you see a square table. Now, most square dining tables fit 4 people. This is an extra large square. This one fits, let's see, 6. This is 12 people. So this is a big one. But we'll talk a little bit about how many spots you should have at your dining table. I'll give you a little bit of an equation, very simple equation. Don't worry, it's math, but I'm confident that you'll be able to wrap your mind around it. So if you're tight on space, opt for either a rectangular or square table. Now, rectangular tables can feel formal and they can feel a little bit more impersonal. So I'd encourage you to counter this by choosing a narrow, retractable table that's paired with casual chairs and also a rounded centerpiece, which is kind of what you see on the left-hand side here. The chairs are a little bit formal, but not super formal. They are comfortable. By the way, I'm working with 2 monitors here. So if I look a little shifty, it's just because I'm referencing some of my notes on the other monitor. All right, so your table can be as narrow as 36 inches wide. No more, I'd encourage you to go no more than 48 inches wide. And this width will give you enough space to have a shared dish between 2 place settings. Okay, so that's a rectangular or square table. These are good fits if you're tight on space. If you want to encourage conversation, if you have a little bit more space to play with and you're trying to encourage conversation and closeness, then I'd recommend that you go with a rounded table, okay, which you see here. So this picture on the left is certainly a more rustic feel. This is located in out in Tahoe. And the one on the right is a more rounded table, and it's a more contemporary look. And unlike a rectangular table, a round table won't make you feel as stuck talking to whoever is immediately next to or across from you. Okay, so it's easier to interact with other members who are sitting at the table when you have a rounded table in comparison to a rectangular square table. If you want more than 4 people to sit at the table, then choose a table that's at least 60 inches in diameter. If you are tight on space, consider using simple stools, which you can then tuck away underneath the table. Okay, so these examples don't have stools, but you can imagine stools that you could just easily push underneath the tabletop. And so if you have a small space and you're worried about using a square table and you want to encourage closeness and more conversation amongst the group, then you'll want to go with a rounded table with stools so that you can push the stools underneath the tabletops. All right, you guys with me? Does this sound good? All right, Billy's joined. All right, this is pretty cool. Got quite a few people who have joined. All right, so the next tip is on the table size. All right, so rule of thumb is you want to go with a table that can fit the number of people you normally have at mealtime and then add 2. All right, so you want to have some extra capacity in the event that you have guests over. But don't go crazy, because the reality of the situation is that your dining table will be used by your family size for the vast majority of its use. So just 2 extra spots is generally all you need. And if you entertain a lot, then you might want to consider having a table that have the ability to be extended, or maybe you want to have a separate room that's dedicated for hosting a larger group of people. All right, so I also was thinking, kind of to complement what I discussed earlier on in this video about how, a dining table is so important, not just from an aesthetic standpoint, but because it encourages conversation. And so just to facilitate that good conversation even more, I wanted to share some cool conversation starter ideas that I often use and thought you might also benefit from. So what's the strangest or funniest thing that happened to you today? What are you most looking forward to tomorrow or this week? Also, what did you dream about last night or daydream about today? I think these are really fun questions. They certainly can lead to some interesting conversations and entertaining conversations. And oftentimes when we're having dinner or lunch or whatever, sharing a meal with somebody else, we tend to get in this rut of talking about the same thing or complaining about the same thing or complaining about the news or politics or finances or something like that. And if you ask these questions, it has a pretty good way of distracting us from getting into that rut or into a negative type of conversation. So keep these in mind. If you have other ideas, I welcome that you add them in the comments section for other people to also be able to leverage during the next time they share a meal. Maybe tonight. I don't know. Maybe right now, depending on where you're watching this. Also, some really cool recipe sites. If you're looking to whip up something tasty, I wanted to share. I use Pinterest a lot. Also, Eating Well, Naturally Ella, Whole Foods, and Epicurious are really great resources for finding terrific recipes. And a lot of these, especially Naturally Ella and Whole Foods, have very healthy recipes too. So in addition to having a nice, healthy conversation, being able to share a very healthy meal is a really great thing. All right, so guys, that's today's Essential. I enjoyed having this conversation with you. Thank you so much for those of you guys who joined me live. Did you like this video? Was this fun for you? If you did like it, if you wouldn't mind giving me the thumbs up or a heart or just reacting in any way that's going to give me some constructive feedback, I'd really appreciate it. If you do like content like this, then I highly encourage you to go to stuccoinsider.com. So this type of content is giving you a taste of what you define inside Stuccco Insider, which is our membership platform that exists within Stuccco. You can try it free for a full 7 days, have access to all the same content that a paying member is able to access. And you'll actually, if you want to see the other design essentials that I'll be discussing about here in the future, then you can, the shortcut is to join Stuccco Insider right now, and you can actually comb through all of those essentials and much, much more. We do a weekly call with an interior designer, and the interior designer can actually give you their professional design advice. You're also able to become a member of our Stuccco Insider Facebook group, where you're able to ask other members for their design advice, where you're able to get design inspiration, and you're also getting design tips every single week, often every single day, just like this. So go to stuccoinsider.com if you're interested in content like this. And until then, I will be preparing for the next Facebook Live, and we'll be talking about the third essential tomorrow. All right, cool? Jim asks, any thought on stain table versus paint, etc.? Well, Jim, I would say that it depends. Depends on your personal style preference, depends on your existing room, what design style your existing room is in. And it also depends on your budget, right? So a stain table will tend to be more expensive than a painted table because a stain table is really going to feature the type of wood that the table is made of. So it would probably be made of a more premium material because you're not masking it with paint. Okay, so if your budget is probably on the higher end, then you would probably be more likely to have a stained dining room table. If you're on a tighter budget, then a painted table would probably be a better fit. But again, it depends. And if you're looking for any type of more specific guidance, depending on your specific situation, then I'd encourage you to reach out to a designer on Stuccco.com. You can ask them for their design advice there. If by the way, if you're curious about what your unique design style is, we actually have a really easy way to do that. Let me bring that up. This might be interesting to you, some of you guys. So if you go to Stuccco.com for design style quiz, I'll bring this over here, right here. Okay. So you can see Stuccco.com/design style quiz. I'll paste this in the comments right here. And you guys should be able to see that in the Facebook Live comments if you're watching this live. So if you go to this page right here, you can actually take a pretty handy design style quiz that we built for you guys. And you will be able to answer a few questions. And based on your answers, we will tell you what your unique style is. So you can see here, I describe my style as maybe modern. When it comes to furniture and home decor, I believe that less is more. I kind of like a bit of color. So you can see where I'm going here. And then based on these answers that I'm supplying, we're going to be using some artificial intelligence to then tell you what your design style is. And then you'll also be able to learn about that particular style. So in this case, and I was kind of answering this without giving it a whole lot of thought, but in this case, my style type is craftsman, and it's giving you a description of what craftsman design is and some characteristics, some design characteristics of a craftsman style. So I'm hoping that that's of value to you guys. I'll probably be bringing this up in future lives as well, but do take a look at that if you're interested in finding out what your design style preference is. And this is Stuccco too, by the way. I encourage you to take a look at it. Things are changing and improving all the time on the website, and it's a really great resource for you if you're interested in improving your home in any capacity or getting inspiration for your next design project. All right, so that's it. Let me stop the share right here, and you guys can see my big noggin here, and let's see. Any other comments? I don't think so. All right, hopefully this is a success. Thanks, guys, so much for joining me this afternoon, and I hope you're able to stay warm, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. We'll talk about the third design essential, according to the very scientific MAT test. All right? All right, so until then, you guys have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll talk to you later.